guys, welcome to the Command Zone. This is Brandon with another deck tech. Today's our first Pauper deck tech ever, and let's get started. So I've chosen to do a deck tech around one of my first Pauper EDH generals, one that I'm really a fan of, Etherium-Horn Sorcerer. He's 6 total converted mana cost casting. It's got 4 colorless, a blue, and a red, and when he comes in he cascades, which is pretty strong. And can provide free spells, and you can do a lot of fun things with him. An additional benefit he has is to return him to his hand, to your hand, for a colorless, a blue, and a red. No tap. It can be done as soon as he comes in to protect him if need be. He is an artifact creature, which makes him a little susceptible to artifact hate, but otherwise really fun and really strong to play. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to look at is our land base. I probably could be running a lot more non-basics, but when I build my Pauper decks, just to start with, I generally build with a pretty steady base of mountains. In this case, I have 18 total mountains as my red mana base to support Etherium-Horn Sorcerer. And secondly, I run 17 islands here, so a pretty even split, not very fancy. They are Zendikar lands, so, you know, that's something, I guess. And some of the older bordered ones, which I really am a fan of. Okay, so moving along, I have 2 non-basics that I kind of just pulled out. That's kind of the name of the game with Pauper, I think, is find what's in your box, put it together, you know, see what happens, tune it from there. It's not supposed to be about getting the craziest cards out there, just kind of what you have laying around. So I do have a Terramorphic Expanse. If I happen to need an extra island or mountain, I can go fetch for it. And a Lonely Sandbar. So again, just 2 cards I had laying around I threw in. One helps me draw, one helps me color fix, and they are okay. So moving right along, let's move into the creatures. In my deck I run 31 creatures. It's a good idea to run a fair amount of creatures, especially in Pauper, because it is a creature-heavy format, and that's generally the way you're going to be winning. Without creatures, you are almost certainly going to be playing either a fog deck or something that requires a fair amount of protection. Again, creatures are really, really important. So starting, we have Soulbright Flamekin here. He's pretty neat. You can pay 2 colorless into him 3 times to gain 8 red mana. Only 2 to play. As a 2/1, he can protect, but he can also get some of the larger spells out quicker, should that be a consideration. And I'm going to be going through these, by the way, in terms of converted mana cost. So, continuing right along, Stonybrook Banneret, we have a 1/1 with Island Walk. He makes Etherium-Horn Sculptor cheaper to play. The sorcerer is a wizard, so turning him out turn 5 or even sooner than that if you have a mana rock or 2 is always a good thing. I like Azure Mage. It's okay. It's not my favorite card. It is a little bit of card advantage late game, or if you really have nothing better to do than draw a card with 4 mana. Puppeteer, also kind of stepping up the curve now, is a 3-drop which allows you to tap or untap a target creature. More for control. Blue in this deck is more about the control aspect. Red is definitely about the aggro, as we'll see a little later on. But being able to tap down or untap a creature at a moment's notice can be really helpful, especially if you have a large general that you're kind of dealing with, or a utility creature that's causing you problems. Next we have Merfolk Looter. I guess he is 1 back on the mana curve. He's only 2 to play. A little out of order. But I like Looter. He helps kind of dig deeper into your hand. You can be cast early game, even late game. He's a really good creature to see. If you have a lot of land in your hand, you just don't need it anymore, then hopefully you'll find something a little bit more relevant. Next up we have Manic Vandal. I like a lot of utility creatures in Pauper because you're going to run into a lot of instances where enchantments are on the board, artifacts are on the board. They're hard to clear away with creatures alone. So getting a body which has that ability, like Manic Vandal, is pretty strong. Obviously, War Priest of Thune is pretty solid in white, so I would certainly run him if there was a white base to this deck. But let's look at the next creature. I don't know that I want to keep this guy in. Kieran Sniper, at the beginning of my upkeep, I can deal a damage to a target player. Just supports the aggro theme. Treasure Mage, next up in the bunch, is actually quite good in my opinion. there may not be a lot of 6-drop artifacts that you wanna be tutoring out, but the ones you do are actually fairly important. I run a Dreamstone Hedron and Geist Catcher Rig in this deck, which both provide utility. In the case of Dreamstone Hedron, you get the card draw, and Treasure Mage can find both of them. And in some cases, if your general happens to get shuffled into your deck, Treasure Mage is one more way to dig it out. Etherium-Horn Sorcerer is a 6-drop artifact or greater. In this case, it's exactly 6, and you can tutor him out. It's actually saved my hide in a few games, so I would definitely recommend playing Treasure Mage in this kind of deck. Cunning Spark Mage, he's hasty, he's aggro-y, I like him. Viashino Heretic, another one of those utility creatures that's going to blow up an artifact, deals damage while doing so, helps clear out someone else's. It could be a mana rock, it could be kind of equipment that's causing you trouble. Prodigal Sorcerer, another one of those Cunning Spark Mage type guys, doesn't have the haste, but he will deal 1 damage, can take out small little utility creatures, or just kind of ping for the win if it gets to that. Zurin Spellcaster, same deal. Next up we have Drift of Phantasms. 05 Defender Flying, good, kind of strong in the defensive sense, but I really like him for his Transmute ability. There are a fair amount of 3-drops in the deck that I think are worth playing, especially Crystal Ball, you have Fabricate, you have Treasure Mage, you have a few other 3-drops that I think are really good to tutor out if you can, and Drift of Phantasms lets you do that. In the 4-drop range, we're going to move into a little bit more aggro, as you'll see here. You've got a Keldon Champion, Echo, Haste, deals 3 when he comes in, really strong creature, people don't see him coming, and he's generally pretty scary when he hits the board, if you're playing at least 1v1, but definitely as a finisher too. Anger, he's hasty, he'll give all your other creatures haste. We've got Flame Tongue Kavu, which is, I think, a staple in any red deck. Comes in, deals 4 damage to target creature, it's removal, and it's really solid. Wonder, 2/2, which flies, which gives all your other creatures flying if it is in the graveyard. Very good. Ruck Egg was printed as a rare. I think in Arabian Nights was then reprinted as an uncommon, so it is legal in the format. I know there's some debate as to whether or not cards that were printed as rares should be legal or not. I think some are definitely more powerful than others, such as Loxodon Warhammer and Behemoth Sledge. But for the time being, this card stays in. It's okay. People generally don't go crazy when he hits the board. It's only an 0/3, but it does turn into a 4/4 red flying creature when it dies, so you get an added benefit. It's a 2-for-1 in a way. Muldrifter here, really good card draw. It's a creature as well if you cast it for its total cost, especially if you cascade off the Etherium-Horn Sorcerer, you get to keep it in play. So I would definitely keep it, and it's just a good card. I have it in my regular EDH decks too. Izzet Chronarch returns an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and we'll look at some of those instant and sorceries in just a second. Ancient Hydra, All-Star, real strong, very, very good removal, and a 5/1 body to boot. Just kind of destroys almost everything, and people do not like seeing that card come out. Next we have a Mnemonic Wall, another one that just grabs some more stuff out of the bin, helps create some more utility. It's a good card to have, I think, in blue decks. Just a giant beater, Scourge of Gaia Reach, some more utility. An Ingot Chewer comes in and blows up an artifact for 1, or if you cascade it's for 4, or excuse me, 5. Mindclaw Shaman, hard to believe, sometimes it's an uncommon. You can kind of blow someone out if you grab one of their larger instant or sorcery spells, and it's kind of one of those weird cards that I think is good, and I didn't realize it was very playable until I kind of looked through my binder. So I would definitely recommend putting it in some red decks and trying it out and seeing if it fits your play group. Emrakul's Hatcher makes little dudes, helps ramp, he's cool. I like Anarchist, does the same thing as that Chronarch does, just a little more narrow. Griff Vanguard, Flyer. Flyers are really good in this format. Evasion is very, very solid, and it also draws you a card when it comes into play. Rapacious One, more aggro, trample-y, and can really make a lot of mana for you if someone lets it go unchecked. So finally we have Geist Catcher's Rig, which is another one of those removal kind of guys. He's one of the 6-drops you can tutor up with Treasure Mage or Fabricate, and just kills things. It's a 4/5 body. It's not that bad. And Artisan of Kozilek, just kind of my big scary guy in the deck that probably shouldn't be in here because I don't really like running things with Annihilator and that are kind of more regular EDH style. But it's still a strong card. And notice, if you'll notice, the Artisan the Geist Catcher's Rig and Rapacious One are the only cards in the deck that do not get cascaded by Etherium-Horn Sorcerer. So really trying to build around the general in this one and provide a solid way to make creatures happen. So let's move on. In the artifact realm, we have some mana rocks in the form of Signet on the 2-drop range and Mind Stone. Both really good. Mind Stone has card advantage if you need it. And then one of my favorites here in the 2-drop range is Shrine of Burning Rage. That's a pretty fun card. In a deck that runs red, especially in one that, for instance, if I were to cast Etherium Sorcerer, counts towards the Shrine of Burning Rage and then cascades into another red spell, I get another counter. I like it quite a bit, and it can kind of get overwhelming if it goes unchecked. Gorgon Flail is a way for pingers to kill things pretty easily. Lightning Greaves helps give some things Shroud and Haste. Mostly it's just to kind of protect the general. I don't want people blowing up my general. I want to be able to return them to my hand and keep playing them and just keep getting more value. I like Crystal Ball. It's a Pauper staple, in my opinion. Anything that lets you manipulate your library in this format is great because there is not a lot of it. Whisper Silk Cloak, another one of those protection and unblockable artifacts. With Rapacious One, it's pretty good. You get the Eldrazi tokens and some damage to boot. Worn Power Stone in the 3-drop range helps provide some of that ramp. The last one in the 3-drop range, again, the controversial card is Loxodon Warhammer. Life gain and trample +3/+0 is pretty darn good. Thran Dynamo, more ramp. It is an uncommon, so it is playable, and I would definitely, again, put that in as kind of a staple, like the Soul Ring of regular EDHs in a way. And then Dreamstone Hedron, more ramp, but also, I think more importantly, it is draw. So again, this is the Dreamstone Hedron is the only card in here that will not be hit by Etherium-Horn Sorcerer off a cascade. So more fun, more value with the general. Let's look at the instants and sorceries, and we'll follow up with the enchantments before we're finished here. I run a fair amount of burn, or not a lot of burn, but a fair amount of cards. Each of my instants and sorceries are all hittable by the Etherium-Horn Sorcerer. Some of the pieces are Lightning Bolt. I think it's worthy. It's a good card. Getting a free Lightning Bolt isn't bad. Charges up the Shrine of Burning Rage. Is removal for small guys, and not a lot of things get bigger than I think maybe 4 or 5 in the format unless you're really spending a lot of resources on casting giant dudes. Incinerate helps remove things from the game, or I'm sorry, keep things from being regenerated. Just a surefire way to kill. Electrolyze, also pretty solid. Lets you draw a card, which is actually probably the most important part of the spell. There's High Tide in the more utility version, more utility-based instants and sorceries. I'm not such a fan of this card. It actually has lost me a game against a Dejin Illuminatus, I believe is the name. It kind of empowered that deck to cast some counterspells and some stuff that I really didn't see coming. So I would probably take this out in next versions. But it can be helpful in some cases. So you might want to try it out in your build. Recoup is a really strong card. It gives your sorceries flashback until end of turn, and Recoup itself has flashback. It's fun when I need draw spells or other kinds of utility sorcery. Shattering Spree, another way to kill artifacts. I like utility, so I run a lot of it. Fabricate, grab some artifacts. Divination, draw some cards at sorcery speed. Inspiration, draw some cards at instant speed for 1 more. Which is good. I like that. And Foresee, another one of those kind of staple-y things in blue. The library manipulation and draw. Factor Fiction, pretty good. People don't like to see that card. It's huge card advantage, especially when they're all really good cards. And if it's a bunch of land, you just put them in the bin and you grab it and you just go to the next stuff on top of your library. So I like it. And it's instant speed, which some people don't realize. So make sure to cast at end of turn so you don't use up your resources on your turn if you can. Tidings in the 5-drop area, draw 4 cards. It's really good. Moving into the 5 drops, Spire Barrage is a card that I'm probably going to be taking out because I generally don't have enough mountains to justify running this card as creature removal or player damage. For 5 mana, there are probably better spells like Lava Axe that just get across. it's pretty underwhelming. In a mono red, I would definitely run it, but I don't think in a multicolor deck you want to do so. And the last card, Instant, which is my personal, I don't know if it's a favorite, but it gets a lot of groans, and it's not a very exciting card for opponents to see, but it's very helpful for you, is Spin into Myth. That's a card I'd play in a regular EDH deck. It is uncommon from Future Sight, and it lets you say bye-bye to a general or to a feisty creature at instant speed, and basically it's their luck trying to get it out if they have a tutor or not. So it can be it can actually be a kind of a game breaker in some ways, especially if you're betting on your general to get there, or if you have a giant you know, who knows, token that's just coming in, it's gone for good. Finally, the enchantments. Oops, let's move these guys out of the way. Rhystic Study, awesome, run it, I recommend it. People don't usually pay for it because players sometimes, at least early game, have to run so tightly on mana to advance their board state that you're going to be drawing a lot of cards off of it. Propaganda, just kind of a Ghostly Prison effect, keeps players from attacking you, and can mean the difference between stabilizing and not stabilizing sometimes. A little underwhelming late game, but maybe worth swapping out for something, but still good. War Cadence. This is good in any aggro deck. You want to make sure that your guys get through, especially if they have some type of effect like draw. So making your opponent not able to block them is really strong. The last three enchantments we have are creature enchantments. The first one is Flight of Fancy. Draws you 2 cards, gives your creature evasion, which is less important than drawing the cards, but is also pretty good. Shiv's Embrace, actually very strong, giving one of your guys +2/+2 and flying, as well as fire breathing. Can do a lot of damage, can actually mean the difference between a game win and a game loss. And then one of my favorite to hit off of a Etherium-Horn Sorcerer Cascade is a Control Magic. You can target your own guys, you can let it fizzle, you can choose not to cast it, but if they have a huge threat on the board and Etherium-Horn Sorcerer comes out and lets you top deck that one, or you just cast it, you're in a good spot. So as you can tell as well, these are all in the Cascade range from anywhere from 3 up to 4. So all good targets, and yeah, so today we've taken a little bit of a look at Etherium-Horn Sorcerer, the first in our Pauper EDH deck tech reviews. Hope you guys have gotten some good ideas. My philosophy, build around the general if you can. It's kind of one of the reasons we play it, is play EDH, Pauper EDH. Find something interesting that can help support the theme of the deck. It's better than just playing one-ofs in a deck and just hoping for the best. At least this way you kind of get to drive your deck model and make it do things that are more interactive and fun, in my opinion. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by thecommandzone.com, and hope to see you here next time. Take a look at some of our other reviews. Thanks guys, bye.